for about 3 to 4 days, I jumped back and forth between more character trials, online matches, and more of the tutorial, experimenting with other characters a little bit on my own. My friend and I also tried an online practice lobby, which basically gave us both infinite health to run around mashing combos. I even tried a team, but the concept of using an assist was still so foreign to me, and I never even remembered to use them. On day 5 of streaming, a viewer asked if he could face me in some games, and I accepted his challenge. He was much better at the game than me, and I learned a ton. I opted to stick with Beowulf solo some more. Here's what I focused on at the time. A slightly updated bread and butter combo. I wanted to practice a new variation of the first combo I learned that involved Beowulf's take a seat mechanic, which allows him to perform a chair pickup as a way to cancel the ending lag of a normal attack. Since I was facing a new opponent who is far more experienced than me, I figured it would be best to rely only on this one combo if I ever did actually get a hit. Using push block. As I'm sure every new player who's tried out Skullgirls knows, facing a more experienced opponent meant I was sitting there holding back most of the time. And since I'm a smash scrub, I was getting destroyed by simple high-low mix-ups, which I learned is indicated by blue or orange exclamation points that appear when you're guarding the wrong direction. At first, I wasn't using push block at all, but my opponent reminded me in the Twitch chat, and after a while, I started finding situations to use it. Keeping track of OTG in combos. Something I learned around this time was that when your opponent falls on the ground, or OTG, you can still hit them and continue a combo, but only one time per combo. Otherwise, they get to stand up for free. In other words, I was trying to keep track of when I had spent my OTG during a combo. This is especially important for Beowulf, since using his crouching medium kick on OTG actually turns into a grab, and I was losing track and missing this a lot. This section would actually be too big if I covered everything, so I'll go over the main points that I didn't discuss in the previous section. Recognizing when my opponent was resetting their combo. An important intermediate aspect of Skullgirls that I've not even begun to experiment with yet is the concept of resets, which involves intentionally ending a combo early and hitting the opponent again with a mix-up to reset the combo counter. Each character tends to have specific moments during their combo that they're likely to attempt to reset, but I don't know any of those yet, which my opponent was happy to exploit. Getting burst baited. Something the tutorial taught me was about the infinity prevention system, which exists as a mechanic that grants the player a chance to burst out of combos that go too long or repeat too many hits. It's a little complex and took me a while to understand, but it's important since smart opponents will intentionally trigger the infinity prevention system to bait a burst and then punish it. Using unsafe moves on block. Since I had a handful of moves I wanted to be using, it was common for me to be looking for huge damage with my trusty bread and butter combos instead of reacting to the fact that my opponent was blocking. I was constantly throwing out huge, unsafe moves on block and getting wrecked for it. Not blocking low on the ground by default. As I talked about in the previous episode, holding back to block is still something I'm not really used to yet. Specifically, one thing I learned is that generally, you're supposed to guard low on the ground by default, and switch only to guarding high in specific situations like when your opponent jumps at you, or when you spot an incoming overhead attack. Also, there were many times I thought it was safe to attack, and got destroyed for trying to press a button too soon. The experience of fighting a stronger player gave me a ton of stuff to work with, and honestly, it was a little overwhelming. I had a lot of fun, but had to be careful to pace myself a bit and not allow myself to feel discouraged by losing or getting hit a lot. Instead, I tried to think of moments where I was able to figure out the correct answer as little victories in their own right. I think it was a good idea for me personally to have grinded out one reliable combo to spam over and over again. I've understood about myself that I actually enjoy the practice of learning a long combo, even though it's not a mandatory skill to have early on in the learning process. It also meant that every once in a while I could relax in a match and take a second to breathe and perform my muscle memory sequence before going back to failing at defending high-low mix-ups. By the end of our session, I was definitely starting to feel a little bit more intentional with my defense. And while again I felt a little overwhelmed by all the new information, I think what's most important is that I accepted right away that my opponent was going to be much better than me, and it was fun to find new answers to problems that I discovered while playing. After all, that's what playing fighting games is all about. That's it for now. Thanks for watching.